But there's so much that you just said in there that I'd like you to unpack for us a little bit. And one thing I would like you to share with folks is the text that you selected and why you felt like it was appropriate. Kind of you expressed to me the other day, it was appropriate to send kids off with.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Pardon me. So I chose Esperanza Rising, which I would not have chose if it was in my classroom. Esperanza Rising being a level V is more appropriate for middle of 6th grade, and I'm teaching 7th grade with this text.
Okay.
But I chose it because although it is a level V with its Fontes and Pinnell, it has really deep exploration of life and struggle and identity, which allows for my higher achievers to elaborate on their thinking and their interpretations and their analysis of the text, whereas it allows my students who need more support access. It also had the audiobook, so that helped a lot. And it also connects to many of my students' Latinx roots and their families. And then being a historical fiction novel where it takes place in the Great Depression, it is a good touch point to send my students into research on that very complex topic of the Great Depression, where they're going to be able to be more inquiry-based coming up, so that I can say, okay, Esperanza went through this, and her family went through this. What did other families go through? What happened in the Great Depression in Illinois or in New York? So it's a book that provides a foundation to further exploration. And it's also a book that works for all my learners.
Yeah. I think your thoughtfulness around that is really complex and layered, all the way from like text complexity, text level, to themes and accessibility. There's so much there. We talk so frequently about the importance of text selection in the classroom, but I think what you're recognizing here is that you're not side by side with them to help them navigate the text the way that you would be in the classroom. And that has impacted the text that you have selected. You need kids to be able to engage with it without you there to catch them in the same way that you could in the classroom. And go ahead.
It also allowed me the opportunity to get the students used to facilitating their own work, because I made a calendar, made it into a 3-week experience. I feel like it also helps settle them into e-learning and having that self-determination to keep working through. As well as, I had another point, but I forgot. It'll come back.
Welcome to my whole life. Could you also share with us, you have a great population of kiddos who are managing 2 languages or learning English at school. I imagine in middle school, you may have some kiddos who've officially sort of tested out of English learner status, but I know that we all know you're an English learner for life. Can you tell us a little bit about this online resource that you're leveraging that is specifically helpful for English learners?
Yes, and that actually reminds me of what I was going to mention, so you were segueing anyway. It allowed for differentiation. I rolled out the guide to all students a certain way, and then I went in and I kind of pruned for different students or added for different students depending on their needs. So one thing that was great is I found a resource for English language learners that this audiobook is connected to. And the audiobook actually has a speed choice option right at the top. So it can be slowed down or sped up depending on the student's need. And then I also, in the guide, I had pretty complex vocabulary work, pretty complex literary device and literary element work, and then comprehension questions and analysis questions. So a lot of different levels of questioning as well as vocabulary and literary element interactions. That is where I was able to go and kind of prune out or highlight and give students. I would use Google documents to comment. You can find this evidence here. I was able to go into their text that was electronic, and me and the diverse learners teacher worked together to highlight different parts of that text and help guide them to which questions were connected to which parts of the text. So it's really been more dynamic than I expected. When you